Hi there, Stampers. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I'm super excited about today's card. I just love this new Leave a Little Sparkle stamp set and an easel fold that I'm going to be doing with it. This is the card we're doing today. And in order to do this card, what you're going to need is an 11 by 4 1/4 piece of cardstock. This is in Balmy Blue. I have scored it at 5 1/2, which is the halfway mark. For the inside, I have a 4 by 4 piece of cardstock in Whisper White. I have a 1 inch by 4 in Highland Heather, and then a 3/4 inch by 3 3/4 inch, again in Whisper White. We're going to be cutting off some of the outside, and then we're going to layer a 4 by 4 of Highland Heather and a 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 of Whisper White. We're going to be stamping in the Memento Black ink, and then we're going to be stamping in some Highland Heather ink, and then we're going to use some markers, the Stampin' Right markers, to make kind of a rainbow effect on the inside sentiment. So that is done with markers. Okay, so like I said, we're going to trim off a little bit of the front of this easel card. So I've got this 4 1/4 by 11 inch, scored at 5 1/2. I'm going to bring in a trimmer and I'm going to cut off. I'm going to line up my score line with the 4 1/4. So it'll be 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and then I'm going to trim this off. So it looks like we're cutting off about 1 1/4 inches. I'm going to take this and I'm going to score from corner to corner. So I'm just laying this in the track of my trimmer and making sure that this point and this corner are lined up, and then I'm going to score between the two of them. And I had to do that first because I want to make sure as we start adhering the layers that, because I'm going to fold this up, I don't want any adhesive back here because that wouldn't allow the easel to stand up. So we want to make sure that we're only applying adhesive on this side. So how I would do that is I would take my 4 by 4 of Highland Heather. I'm going to flip it over, and remember I only want in here, so from this corner to this corner I need it to be that direction. So let's bring in some snail, and you can use whichever adhesive you'd like. I just find snail to be quick and easy. And then, like I said, we're going to just center it. Again, I'm putting my points on that score line. So it's scored right there and right here, and adhered underneath. Now, if I want this to stick really well, I want to come back in and just kind of rub it with a bone folder, because that just makes sure that we're good and stuck. And then this is going to go on the edge. So that's going to fit right there. And this is my 4 by 4 Whisper White. Like I said, I had one of 4 by 4 and one of 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Hopefully you're on my newsletter list and have given me your birthday, so I can send you a birthday card and your address. So I'm just going to layer this in the center. And I probably should have stamped on it before adhering it. I have a tendency to try to do that first, because if there's ever a goof, I want to be able to flip it over. So I'm going to have to be careful doing that one today because it's already adhered. Okay, so this is, like I said, from the Leave a Little Sparkle stamp set. It's got this beautiful unicorn. And I've actually seen some people who have not inked up the horn and just inked up the horse itself, and then made just a horse. So it is kind of does double duty. Don't think that it only has to do what we design it to. That's why we're creative, so that we can take these things that somebody else thought of one way and we flip it and make it another way. So I'm just giving this piece a little bit of extra something And then I'm going to stick that in the center over here. For the outside, like I said, I'm going to be using Memento black ink. And I'm going to stamp this unicorn on my 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 piece of Whisper White. Okay, so and if you notice, I took the stamp and I laid it on its back and I adhered the ink this way. To me, going this direction, I am much more confident that I got the whole thing inked up than if I went this way. That's just me. It goes either way. And then I'm going to push it a little to the right side so that I have room for my sentiment. So I'm going to stamp the word believe up here in the corner. And you could stamp this in any color. And then I've got these little stars. These also come in that set because I felt this corner looked a little bit vacant. So I'll put that there. Oh, and we're going to put a few stars on the inside of here. So while I have this stamped out, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now for coloring, you can use markers, or watercolor pencils. There's any number of things that we can use for coloring, but if you've watched me lately, you know I'm just like in love with our Stampin' Blends. I have a tendency to use those for everything lately. I probably ought to add a little more variety, but we are using those today. And I just took what I thought was kind of a pretty rainbow color. I'm making a card, say, for a girl. So I chose, this is Light Daffodil Delight, Dark Balmy Blue, Dark Highland Heather, and a light lovely lipstick. And I just felt they looked pretty together. I mean, and you can choose any colors that you want, but that's just what I chose. And then I just started coloring the mane and the tail by just coming up from the bottom. And then you can either just pick every so often and do a few pinks here and a few purples there, or you can go in order, because I kind of wanted them to be adjacent to the color that they blended with. So I went pink, purple, blue, and I just continued that way, like I said, throughout the entire tail and the mane. And then I came in with Smoky Slate, and then I colored in the dark bottom part of his hooves with the dark, and then I'm going to do a little bit of his body with the light, because technically I kind of wanted him to be white, but he needed a little something. And since Stampin' Up! Already gave us where our shadow marks are, I just kind of came along and used my light marker and did shadow marks kind of in the same places that the artist did. And then after I had my Smoky Slate on there, because I'm not going to be using another color, I want it to kind of blend with white, I came back in with our, they still call it a color lifter, but our white marker to just bleed it out so that it would go from white to the light gray. And I just did that. Let's see. This is color lifter. That is what we still call it. Okay. So I just came in and made circles and colored right directly over the top of the Smoky Slate, the light Smoky Slate. And I wanted to make sure I got it good and wet, because once it's wet, that's how it's going to bleed together and make it blend. So it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it is laying down moisture. And that's going to bleed it some. I apologize if I sound like I'm a little bit of in a rush today. I'm kind of excited. We are getting a new puppy. Some friends of ours got a puppy for their daughter who said she wanted it, and then said, oh, well, you know, I think it's a little too small for me. I'd like a larger dog. So we're going to go down and pick up this 1 pound poodle. I can't wait to bring it home. Sophie's going to be just so jealous, but it's going to be so fun. So like I said, this is the card. I went ahead and colored it. As you can see, the gray with the color lifter over it kind of blends a little. And I made another one so you wouldn't have to sit here and watch me color everything. So once the tail and the mane are colored in, that's what it would look like. And then I came in with the clear Wink of Stella. And I just went over the mane and the tail and his horn with this. And you could do a little bit of glue and some dazzling diamonds, or you could leave it blank. I just think unicorns are kind of magical, and to me, magic usually involves some sort of fairy dust, right? So I'm just laying down some Wink of Stella. Let's see if I can get you to see this. Can you see the sparkle? Like I said, it's kind of a hint when we use Wink of Stella, but it definitely sparkles. It's very pretty. And then, because I've already got this piece on, and this is where we don't want adhesive, I can adhere the whole thing there. So I'm going to take this little 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and I'm going to adhere that in the middle here. Yellow, that's what I'm looking for. I realized I didn't color the stars. A few rhinestones. That would be pretty, right? So I've got my Take Your Pick tool and our basic rhinestone jewels. Of course, all of this can be purchased in my online store. I would be very happy to have you as a customer. Oh, I'm definitely going to be posting pictures. Apparently it's really tiny. They said that it's going to, grown up is going to be 5 pounds. I hope that's true. I think that would just be adorable. It's a little poodle, black and white, which I hear is unusual. The lady who's selling it to me mentioned some name for a black and white poodle and it being rare. So we'll see. Okay, now all we have left to do is the inside. And like I said, that's where I'm going to use the markers to give us this effect. Now, if you have purchased Stampin' Up! In the past and you happen to have one of our uninked spectrum pads, this would be ideal for creating that rainbow sort of look. So if you have one of these and you haven't inked it up yet, we need to talk, because this it's just gorgeous. But if you don't have that and you still want this rainbow effect, we're going to be using our Stampin' Right markers. Now keep in mind, we don't want to use the Stampin' Blends because those are alcohol based, and our Stampin' Right markers are water based, and so these will not do damage to your stamp. So I'm going to come in with the marker, like I said, and I'm just going to color using the brush end, because all of our markers have a brush tip and then like a ballpoint tip. This would be for writing or doing fine lines, and then this is for bigger brush marks and strokes. And so this is what I'm rubbing on the back of the stamp, and I'm just inking it up on the raised parts of my stamp. So we're going to get the inside of our card, and I'm going to huff. So I'm just kind of breathing, you know, onto the stamp itself, and all that does is it re-moistens the ink. And then I'm going straight up and down, no rocking. And there we have it. We have our rainbow sentiment. Let's see, we'll do these stars again in yellow. I think I'll add a little bit of Wink of Stella over the top, and we'll be good to go. So I hope you like today's card and that you give it a try. Oh, and in order to make it stand up so that it stays put, what I did on my other one here is I just punched out a star. Any small shape that you have, a punch or a framelit that would have a star, a heart, you know, whatever you want. I did this with our sparkle glimmer paper, but you can also do it with just plain old cardstock. Like I said, any shape will work. And then I used our mini dimensionals, because these are super small and will fit in the center, so you won't have to cut down your dimensional and it won't be bigger than your punch. But then I just stuck it to where I thought I wanted it to stand up. And that's it. There we go. So there's today's card. Again, it's using our new stamp set on the new 2019-2020 annual catalog entitled Leave a Little Sparkle. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed and that you come back next Monday for another Facebook Live. Thanks. Bye.